I'm Nigel Fortnum, and I currently am board member and now vice chair of ANCHO Housing down in Irvine, and sit on the joint board of Cairn Group, which is the parent to ANCHO. I like the people. I like the impact they have on society in Scotland and the wonderful work they do that a lot of people don't have an appreciation for. They think a housing association is a landlord, of course, which they are, but all the wraparound services that they do, people, I don't think, that are out with the sector really appreciate the great work that they do for all sorts of things like antisocial behaviour, creating place, employability, guidance, advice, help, grants, funding, assistance, for people that are the most vulnerable in society. And so that's an important element of what a housing association does. I chose ANCHO because I didn't have a commercial relationship, with them, and therefore there would be no conflict of interest from a professional point of view. And also I felt that because they were part of a bigger group, it would give me an insight to a complex business in Cairn, but it was of a scale, ANCHO, that I thought I could get my head around as my first step into becoming a board member. I've obviously worked professionally in housing for a number of years, and becoming a board member gave me a great insight, to running an organisation from a board perspective and the responsibility that comes with, being a board member or a trustee. The amount of governance, the amount of work that goes into ensuring that compliance, health and safety and all the other stuff of an organisation is as it should be. The amount of paper and preparation that actually takes. I mean, my average board packs will be 240 pages, and we're now streamlining that with our new chief exec, because there's no way that someone can digest 240 pages. So that was a real insight, and I've been extremely impressed, to how they organise, because obviously I've been on boards professionally for many years, and I've learned an awful lot about governance of running an organisation, whatever that might be. I don't think there's any difference, actually. I think because every registered RSL, a registered social landlord, is also registered with OSCR as a charity. I think that obviously allows them, they have to do certain things within their organisations, like from a VAT point of view, an accounting point of view, and therefore they have to maybe set up some commercial subsidiaries, and all those types of structures. But as regards to the operation, of the responsibility, if you're a trustee or a committee member or a board member, whatever the terminology is that the organisation is using, I don't think there's any difference at all in the contribution of that board making the decisions and defining the strategy for the long-term plan of the organisation. It's interesting, it is very challenging, because if your housing association is doing a good job, then generally tenants are very satisfied, and we measure all sorts of satisfaction, that we have to report to the housing regulator. And if you're doing a good job, they're satisfied, and if they're satisfied, they don't really want to get involved. And I think the name board member is off-putting, to a lot of tenants, and it is more and more challenging to attract tenants onto boards. And I think in years gone past, when housing associations were created, the boards were called committees, and there was more interest from a tenant to become a committee member than a board member. But I think board members, the name is off-putting, for many. And what we try and do is have like a tenant scrutiny panel as a starting point, because we want to encourage tenants to have the voice of the tenant sitting on the board, because we're talking to a customer and getting their viewpoint. But if they're put off by the fact of becoming a board member, then a stepping stone, of a scrutiny panel kind of helps them and makes it easier without too much commitment. And that still gives us that voice, but it is challenging for lots of organisations to. And the housing regulator is now also, because these organisations are becoming more and more complex, the housing regulator is encouraging organisations to have a mix of specific skills, and therefore it becomes more and more difficult from your tenant population to attract those specific skills without bringing in professionals. I think it's essential. The fabric of societal Scotland depends heavily, on the charitable organisations that deliver outstanding work. If it's our chosen charity helping birthing partners that we do in my professional life, to housing associations which are charities and have the responsibility to Oscar. I think it's essential, to provide the services that we do. They're so wide, for Scotland, and it's essential, and it's rewarding, because I think if you've got a passion about the particular sector that's drawing you to that area, I think that's helpful. I think people that want to become trustees or board members that maybe don't have a strong empathy with the sector, they'll not get as much from it. But because I'm involved in the sector I selected professionally, I think it's beneficial for me as an individual, because I'm learning from like-minded people that have been maybe board members longer than I had been when I first joined. So that's helped my own personal development, but I think it makes a big impact on the people that we're there to serve. Personal development, I think, has been very important, because we like to grow and develop in life, and therefore becoming a board member and taking that responsibility, you obviously learn how to become a good board member and contribute. And you're learning from the people around the table who have maybe been board members for longer. So that's been really good. I think it gives me a great sense of satisfaction that I do make a difference. Everything about a housing association is for the tenant, the customer, and a lot of those customers are the most vulnerable in society. And I think it makes a big difference to me that I'm contributing to helping others, and that's rewarding and gives you a lot of self-satisfaction that you're improving people's lives. There's a lot of passionate people involved, and I have learned a great deal about governance of an organisation, and because it's public sector and it obviously has to report to the Scottish Housing Regulator, it's a heavily governed environment, and I think the disciplines, what they have to do to report the performance, you bring into your own professional life. It's also beneficial.